Yes, I'm Mary Wilson Joseph. I am actually from Cartersville, Georgia. Go Colonels! And I am the African American Programs Coordinator for the Georgia Department of Community Affairs, and I've been in this position a little over a year. The love of history. In fact, I started loving history in 8th grade when they took us around the state of Georgia visiting historic sites, and I didn't see a lot of African Black sites, so I didn't see a lot of stuff myself. And so I was like, I don't want to be a history teacher. Doing research, I found out about historic preservation, and so once I graduated CAS, I saw that there was a historic preservation major at SCAD. The most important thing in my research is to document everything. Oral stories to books to anything you find, document it, save it, because you can come back into it later on. And so it's very important to do these oral history stories, which I'm doing now for.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Welcome to the Bartow History Museum's Lunch and Learn. We're thrilled to have you out here this afternoon to join us for this special presentation. My name is Trey Gaines. For those of you that don't know me, I'm director of the museum. And welcome. Before we get started, let me give a couple of upcoming announcements. This coming Saturday, February 24th, Black Bartow Events is hosting their third annual Black History Parade here in downtown Cartersville. I understand it's much bigger and the route has expanded this year, so that's going to be a great event. And it's followed by a pop-up event in the square following that parade. But in addition to that, the Bartow History Museum and the Booth Western Art Museum will be open Saturday with free admission and activities. And Jordan's going to tell us about the activities that are going to go on through here at the History Museum.
Yeah, so upstairs in our museum gallery, we'll have a pop-up trek. So the theme for the parade this year is African Americans in the arts, and I'm a big music guy, so I chose musicians to showcase North Georgia musicians, but also some Bartow County musicians as well. So there'll be a pop-up trek upstairs talking about history of music, early blues, early jazz, as well as artists like Jackie Beavers and Bessie Smith, and contributions to music. We'll also have an interactive table with some West African instruments because a lot of this blues and jazz came from these West African traditions. So we'll have a djembe and some shakerays and a bunch of fun instruments that everybody can play. And in this room, we're also going to have a couple of crafts with our wonderful educators, Catherine and Maddie here. Came up with some really great crafts. We're going to make a shoebox guitar and some shakers as well.
So come out for that. The parade, I believe, starts at 1:30. But the events, the activities, the museum will be free all day, and the activities will be around that afternoon. Correct, Jordan?
Yes.
Okay. All right. And the next Thursday, our evening lecture will be with Mr. Ken Reeves. Ken will be here to talk about the Emancipation Proclamation Committee that's active here in Bartow County and the work that they do. That's at 7 o'clock next Thursday, so a week from tomorrow. Our current temporary exhibit, which is on the other side of this wall, is on some medical history here in Bartow County. That will close on March the 2nd, so I encourage you to check that out while you're here today. And then we'll open a new exhibit on March 21st on the history of cameras and photography. We're going to pull out the cameras in our collection. We've got, 30, 40 cameras that we'll pull out and highlight and show off the evolution of photography through that exhibit. And that'll open Thursday, March 21st. For more details on these and other events, I encourage you to check out our website, bartowhistorymuseum.org. Follow us on social media, become a member. I know some of you are members, and you get emails and newsletters that highlight these things that are going on. So welcome, and now I'll introduce our guest speaker. We're thrilled to have with us today Mary Joseph. Mary Wilson Joseph is the African American Program Coordinator at the Georgia State Historic Preservation Office. Prior to working for the Historic Preservation Division, Mary worked in museums for 20 years. Mary's background is in theater at Andrew College and historic preservation at Savannah College of Art and Design. As the African Americans Program Coordinator, her job duties include assisting in preserving African American history and being the liaison for the Georgia African American Historic Preservation Network. And what she doesn't say is she hails from here in Bartow County. Yeah. Graduated from Cass High School. Yeah. Please join me in welcoming Mary Wilson Joseph.
Thank you, Trey. Thank you so much. Again, thank you all for coming out this afternoon. I appreciate it. Yes, I work for Georgia Community Affairs. I'm the part of the Historic Preservation Division. I've been in this position about a little over a year. And today I'm going to talk to you about GOPN. Coming in this position, I found out we have tons of acronyms. So if I say something and you don't know what it is, it's probably an acronym, and I will tell you what that is. So GOPN is the Georgia African American Historic Preservation Network, and I'll tell you the history of it and what they're doing now. But intro, what is HPD, Historic Preservation Division? We started, our office has been started back in 1966 with the National Park Service and the Georgia State Legislature. They pay half of, the National Park Service pays half of us, as well as the Georgia's legislators does too. And then we have about 25 employees here. So what do we do? So with the 25 employees, we have the National Register Department, as well as tax incentives, environmental review, and outreach. And I'm part of the outreach department. And so we carry out federal mandates as well as educating and training. So that's most of my job. I travel around the state of Georgia. Then our mission is to promote preservation and use historic places for a better Georgia. So I not only work for SHPO, which is the State Historic Preservation Office. So you can use HPD or SHPO. Most of us use HPD, but I'm also the liaison of GOPN. So background for GOPN, it all started with the environmental review programs back in 1970. They noticed that a lot of African American sites were not put on the National Register, so they got a committee around the state. Not a committee, they got some committees from each part of the state and try to find sites. So my first three main sites was in Savannah at the Beach Institute, as well as Bethlehem District in Augusta and the Sweet Auburn District in Atlanta. So what is the National Register? National Register is where any place that's 50 years or older. It could be a cemetery, a historic house, or even an object. And so once it's on the National Register, there's so many things, incentives, just like grants. However, it doesn't help keep the building. So local designation is totally different. That will help you keep the building. It could be on the National Register, and unfortunately, it can still be demolished. So one of the first that was on the National Register, of course, is the MLK Historic District. And then the second one is the Camilla and Zach Community Center District down in Hancock County. If you're not familiar with that, the history of it is that Zach Hubert was a former Warren County slave. He moved there in 1871. And then, so that's the historic significance. So it's not only is it 50 years or older, it has to have historic significance. So he owned a lot of land and created this center with him and his family. Other examples that came in the 70s and 80s was the Morton Theater in Athens. It's an African American theater. It was part of the Chitlin Circuit, and the owner was an African American, and I think the architecture was from African American as well. And then another one was the Hamilton Plantation Slave Cabin in St. Simons, and another example is the Academy and Liberty Theater. All of them have historic significance, again, owned by an African American. Of course, enslavement down in St. Simons, and then this was an African American school in Liberty County. So before GOPN started, with those communities around the state of Georgia that were pulled in for the environmental review, helped do a conference. I know it's a little hard to see here what they were doing. It's a one-day event. And so they did a walking tour of the MLK district, and then they had several people from HPD and the community do a presentation on historic preservation in the community. And the last thing was they did a reception. So this is one of the first things they did before they became GOPN. Another one was Carol Merritt. She's an African American lady that was part of the Historic Preservation Division, and she created this Historic Black Resources document. So it's kind of like a reference guide, give you an idea to like, how can I save this building? How can I put it on the National Register? So that was built in like 1982 as well. Sorry, my voice is shaking. And then, because I know so much about this. And then Elizabeth Lyon. She got all those people from the community that represented around the state of Georgia to come in and have a meeting. She said, we need to represent more of African American sites, and so let's form a group. And it was originally called the Minority Historic Preservation Committee and Network. And I have interviewed some of the original Goppin board members. They hated that name. So they had several names changes, and they went with Goppin, and that's how it is still today. So I like to list the names of all the original members. I'll give you guys a few seconds to look and see if you know anyone that's from Bartow County. She was one of the original members, and she actually started becoming a member because she reached out to Carol Merritt, that wrote the research book, and said, hey, I have this school that I went to, a Rosenwald school, and she came out. And so they had that connection still, so Elizabeth Lyon invited her with the rest of the people around the state of Georgia, and she became a board member for Goppin. You can see some of her accolades here. And then some other achievements that they did. So they started in 1989 as the Minorities Committee. And then in 1991, they created posters through Georgia Power. You can see Governor Zell Miller here. And this is Charlotte Frazier. She's from Columbus. And they created different kind of posters from African-American schools to churches to neighborhoods. And I wish we still had them. But Georgia Power funded it. And then in 1982, they did another one, was a tourism guide, all the places that were on the National Register that were black. They had a guide, and you can drive around the state of Georgia seeing those sites. Again, I only have the original copies of the poster and the map. And then in 2000, they had the first African American Programs Coordinator, Jeannie Syriac. Another thing they did is they recreated the Carol Merritt book and did an updated resource guide. They still are having difficulty getting African American sites on the National Register. There's a book and guidelines you have to go by, and they're finding it's very difficult. And so they got some funds or a grant from the Georgia Humanities Council, and they made this book. Other achievements they've done, they host tons of conferences. I remember I interviewed an intern, and during the Olympics, they did a tour around Atlanta. They completed, which my predecessor, Jeannie Syriac, completed all the schools in Rosenwald. She discovered there's over 200 Rosenwald schools, and I think 53 are still intact from the state of Georgia. And then Jeannie Syriac received a reward for our Reflections newsletter, which I'll explain later. Other achievements, Your Town. They'll still exist today, but this is the first one they did in Plains, Georgia. My predecessor, Jeannie Syriac, she's way back here. And then my other predecessor, Melissa Jest, is in the center here. They help promote Your Town. It's basically if you have a population of 50,000 people or less, then Your Town can come out and help you basically how to bring tourism or revitalize the community. So they did it twice in Plains. I think they did it in Thomasville and Helen, Georgia. Another thing is that we have several of our board members now. They presented at the state conference, the Historic Preservation State Conference this year. Other continuing projects, I love to show photographs of what we're doing now. This is at the Auburn Library. We came out for Christmas, and you can see the president, or the chair out here now. And then Joyce, she is from Augusta. She is a wealth of knowledge on African American cemeteries. So she presented on that. And then we do partnerships with the Georgia Trust. Georgia Trust is a nonprofit that does some preservation work. And my HPD partners with them a lot as well. And then they do a community outreach. So wherever in their region, they can go out and educate people about preservation. And then membership recruitment. We are looking for memberships in this region. So if anyone wants to be a member, come see me. Yeah, I think we have right now 7 members, and there's 12 regions. So it's my goal as a liaison when I travel to see who could be a great fit for Goppin. And then website, they don't have a website. When I started this position last year, I was like, what? So my intern said her husband can do it for free, so we're working on that right now. So we're doing the website. We do have social media. So it's on a pause right now. I can give it to you. You can look back what we posted in the past. But we're trying to figure out who is tech savvy enough to go back and post it, because I had my intern last year do that. So what do I do as the African American Programs Coordinator? You kind of have an idea that I travel around the state educating and giving people advice about how to become on the National Register, called tax incentives, who to contact. But this picture here is the Colored Hospital in the Americas. They just celebrated their 100th anniversary, and I went down there over the summer, and they got a grant to restore it from the National Park Service. Another way to be on the National Register, because you have to be on the National Register to get this funding. And they have tons of money. So does the National Trust. They have tons of federal money going to throw at you. It's just a lot of work, unfortunately, but we're here to help you. Speaking of that, my 3 main outreaches is giving resources, site visits, and educating. I went down to Liberty Theater this past summer in Valdosta, and they said they're on the list of demo. I tried to save them. Unfortunately, last month, part of the Liberty Theater was demolished. Yeah, it was part of the Chitlin Circuit as well. The only thing was that they were not on the local designation. They were part of the National Register District, but they were not part of the local destination, which they're trying to do now, because they still have part of the building still there. They have the theater. This part right here is the club that they had. But it's sad that, I know, she kept calling me and I was like, I can't do anything. A lot of people think since I work for the state, I can go over local government, and I cannot. I can only connect them with them. I ask them questions. I actually even went to Albany, because Albany had the same issue, but it wasn't as far as along for the demo. And they said, like, put it on social media, go on the news, and they did that, but fortunately it still didn't work. But I gave her suggestions now. I said, the part that you have, create a museum, create an exhibit, you know, do programs for MLK Day, Juneteenth, let people know about the Liberty Theater. Because right now they use it as a soup kitchen, so a lot of people still come there, so when you have that exhibit up, they can look at it as well. So I'm hoping she's doing that. Clicker. Other ways I reach out to the public is the Reflections newsletter. My predecessor, Jeannie Syriac, when she started in 2000, and I have some copies here from December, started Reflections newsletter. It has about African American history around the state of Georgia. It could be foodways, it could be programs, it could be about historic buildings, anything like that. So if you have a story, I'm willing to take it and put it on our Reflections newsletter. It comes out 3 times a year. It's supposed to come out 4, but I'm having a hard time finding people to give me stories. Another thing is historical events. I get a lot of invites from Georgia Historical Society, and I went to this one in Morehouse this past summer, and I found out meeting the professors, they're trying to start an initiative for historic preservation. So I would love to work with them and get that running for a major. And then site visits. This is down in Americas, and I visited when I came down to the Colored Hospital, and it's right across the street. And when the Colored Hospital stopped, because they started integrating the regular hospital, a lot of people left the community, and so the church went down. But now they have funding from the National Trust to restore it. So I love to work with people. So if you have any questions about history or interpretation, I worked in a museum for 20 years. I can help assist with that. I can also help assist, like I said, with National Register stuff, or connect you with other people that are going through the same issue or have been through the same issue, and you guys can connect. And even programs. Like I said, with the Liberty Theater, I gave her some suggestions for programming. We'll see if she does it or not. And then tell your story. Ethos Preservation, HPD, Historic Preservation Division, hired them out. They're located in Savannah to update the reference guide. So we're still having tons of issues with African American sites being on the National Register. That book is very difficult to get things passed. And so they're trying to figure out different ways. And I think the National Park Service is trying to update their book as well. But this is for the state of Georgia. So we want anyone's story, any historic site, landmark, cemetery, you name it, that's not on the National Register. This is their QR code and their contact information, and Brianna can help you assist with that. It was supposed to be closed down in December, collecting stories, but their website's still up, so I decided to share it with you guys, and I hope to have it out by 2025. And so other things I'm working on is the Goppin Oral History Project. They hit the ground running, doing a lot of things in 1989, but they didn't document themselves. So during this presentation, I wanted to show all their names, but I've already started some oral histories, and I took pictures of some chairs, some people that are on Goppin right now as well. And so I have, oh, the pictures have shifted, my apologies. Janice White Sykes, she is amazing. She took me under her wings. And she's one of the original Goppin board members that started in 1989. She's in Atlanta. She was a librarian, and she connected me with most of everyone I've interviewed. Mr. Isaac Johnson right here in the center. He was the longest chair, as you can see here, from 2003 to 2018. He's in Augusta. He is a veteran. And then we have an intern here. She was an intern in 1995 doing the Olympics. And then Dr. Alan Jackson, his picture has shifted, so you don't even see him. He's the president of the chair now. So other things I'm working on, the Chitlin Heritage Trail. Jenny Syriac started the Civil Rights Trail, and it's on the Explore Georgia, and she tried to start the Chitlin Circuit Trail. During my research, I think she couldn't complete it because of funding, but now I have reached out to Fox Theater, and they're willing to work with me to complete that. So if there's any stories here in Cartersville, I'm willing to take those and include them. But these are some of them that she did the research already. So the Douglas Theaters in Macon, the Liberty Theaters in Columbus. I mentioned the Morton Theater in Athens. This is the Fletcher Henderson home. He was a musician in the early 20s, and he played the saxophone. He's from Cuthbert, Georgia. And of course, everyone knows the Peacock in Atlanta. It was a club. It's like a. So you can follow HPD on social media. I am a fast talker, so I'm willing to answer any questions you have about Goppin. Again, I am looking for members, desperate for members. They are hitting strong, hitting the ground running. I met with them last January, trying to get that website running, and we meet about 3 or 4 times a year. The commitment is, it's not as bad. A lot of people don't want to commit to a lot of things because they are working as well. And our chair, see if I can find a picture of him. He is a physician down in Brunswick. So the fact that he's our chair and running, I think anyone else can join as well. But are there any questions? Yes, ma'am.
You mentioned interviews that you've done. Accessible, like on YouTube?
I have not shared them yet because they have not been edited. That's a good question. I'm hoping with Goppin's website, I'm going to put them on there. I'm actually interviewing Elizabeth Lyon. She's in her 90s, and she's the one that kind of started Goppin. So we tried to interview at least 3 times, and something has happened where none of us could go and meet up. But hopefully we have a schedule in March now to meet up to get her story how Goppin started. And I had Carl Barnes. He's the first African American to graduate from Georgia Tech. He was a chair for Goppin as well. That's why I hate my pictures that they shifted. But yeah, Carl Barnes, and as well as Miss Janice. I call her Miss Janice, are the ones that took me under their wing for Goppin. I can talk about historic preservation work as well, like I said, for Liberty Theater.
I know you showed Dr. Wheeler. I was actually working
Oh, really?
over here when they started that. She used to, we had to go to Atlanta for meetings, and I thought she was going to kill me. She was like almost 80-something. She was driving crazy. But,
So did you meet Carol Merritt? Okay, yeah, she worked at the Alonzo Herndon home eventually, and I've yet to meet her. I don't think she lives in Atlanta anymore.
but she was great. And she came up to Noble Hill and really helped us get that going.
Yeah, and a lot of people from Rosen Law Schools go to Noble Hill all the time for, yeah, Fairview, that's in close to Rome. There's one in Hiram. There's one in Ackworth. There is one in Spalding, but their integrity is not the same. I think they did a lot of changes. So that's another thing for the National Register. If you move things and shift things around from how it was originally, you lose the integrity and you can't really put it as a National Register nomination.
So how old does it have to be?
50 years or older. So most people start documenting it at 40 because it takes a long time. It's a long process. So you can get eligible, that's what they call it. So once you're eligible, you can start applying for the grants, but they will still keep asking you for more information. I think it takes about a year to maybe even 2 years to be fully on the National Register for historic places.
Yeah, I think my grandfather's potato house is like one of the only ones that's left in the state of Georgia.
Oh, great. I can help you assist with that. So, yeah. I went down to Eatonton in January, and there's a church that's 200 years old, and half of the members want to keep it, and half of the members want to demo it and restore it. And so I told them the benefits. Unfortunately, there was a little argument back and forth between the members, so I was like, it's none of my business. I'll let you guys figure it out, but this is the benefit if you save the building. And they have money too, so they have money to go ahead and restore it if they want to rebuild it. I don't know what's going to happen. I'm actually going down to Eatonton next month for another church that I have talked to, and I think they really want to save it, but they're trying to find the historical significance, and sometimes that's really hard to find. Because a lot of people say, oh, this person spoke here, but they speak a lot of places. So, yes, ma'am.
So I have a church that's 156 years old. The building itself is not quite that old, but the original building was 156. So we're at least, is it 1909
Oh, wow.
to now? So.
Yeah, that's 50 years and older.
And we want to look at that.
Yeah, find the historical significance on it too, because we get so many nominations, say in churches and schools, but they have to have the significance.
So the significance would be what exactly?
I'll give an example, like Noble Hill was a Rosen Law School. So all the Rosen Law schools, since they're, as well as another example is Marietta is on the National Register from Lemon Street School. They were the only black school in Marietta.
Yes. Same as Main High.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. So, well, see, that can be on the National Register for Historic Places. So a lot of people say like, oh, Martin Luther King spoke here. Yeah, that's great. But he has a birth home, he has a house that he lived in, and he has the church. So you got to have more than just that. And then not lose the integrity. A lot of people catch up on that as well. Great questions. But yes, ma'am.
You mentioned that the hardest part about this is getting the local community. How do you encourage that to take place?
It's with the local community and the local district, the city or the town being committed with it as well. So you get them all together because some of that paperwork the city has to sign off for as well. It's not. So you can do a nonprofit. That's another one too. Work with a nonprofit. So it depends on the desire for the history. Just like that church in Eatonton, they had a desire just to rebuild it. They didn't care about the history. So it's just getting that people and convincing them that this is a value of history that we want to tell over and over and over again for generation to generation. But I think Cartersville's doing great. I get stuff from you guys all the time to read and review. A lot of mitigation stuff. So Cartersville is doing great in Bartow County too. I get stuff from you, Harley, all the time to read. That's you? Yes. So, and you guys have a grant. She's actually on the PowerPoint too with, last name is Brio. She did. She actually talked about the cemeteries here at the state conference for historic preservation, and so we have another preservation conference coming up in Columbus in September. So I encourage you guys to come out. Last year we had tons of people that were not preservationists. They just wanted to learn more about it. They had this building or cemetery or even object they wanted to save, and they wanted to take some of the sessions. And if you even have a session you want to submit, I can convince the Rosenwald schools. There's so many of them. They should all come together and present.
What about the cemetery in Kingston where Miss Obama's?
Oh yeah.
Queen's Chapel.
I don't know if it's on the National Register. No. But you guys have a great map talking about all that. So. Anything else? I think that is it. Yes, ma'am.
You said that like the local, like they aren't, there's a lot of pushback. What is like their main reasoning for pushback?
It's just the time. They don't have the patience to wait. So that's another pushback. And then the knowledge, they don't know. So if I go out and educate them, they're like, I had no idea. But majority of the time when I tell them how long it takes to be on the National Register, get on the local district at the same time. Because both of them can take just as long. But if you want to save that building, get it on the local designation list. And a lot of places don't have it, and a lot of places have different rules and guidelines. So I can't tell you what there are. I can tell you all about the National Register ones. But that's a good question. Yes, ma'am. It's back and forth, not enough paperwork, and there's a book that you have to go by for the National Register. And so if you're missing those qualifications, the National Register staff will come back and send it back to you, because if they send it to the National Park Service, they're gonna send it all the way back to us. They want documentation that is real and it's fact. And I get it. So people can make things up just for funding. I know Cobb County recently, I saw on the news, they are applying for some funding for their cemeteries for the National Trust. Like I said, there's tons of money, and I'm happy to send it to you guys. It's just the patience and having that core group that's willing to write those grants as well.
And as you mentioned, the patients also on the board at Fairview.
Oh, you are? Joyce Smith.
Yes, from day one when they started on the board, but supported them. And it's taken a long time to do what they've done.
Yeah, they've done so much.
Still not finished, but it takes a lot of money as well. And of course, the support. There's a plan. You have a master plan. But still, you have to have the funding.
Exactly. I know they have funding from Georgia Humanities to do their oral history. And that's another thing. Think outside the box. Georgia Humanities, Georgia Council for the Arts, they will pay for programming. They'll pay for oral history documentation for all that. If you have a theater here, Fox Theater gives out grants to theaters. So, but a lot of people don't know. I didn't know until I got in this position. So I'm here to educate them as well.
But the patience, too, of the folks who are there, sometimes that kind of wears off.
It does.
Phenomenal at keeping the dream alive.
Exactly.
But it's hard to get volunteers to stay on board. This has been, I guess, since 2009, maybe. Still working.
Yeah, but they've done so much.
Yes.
What's the project?
The Joyce Fairview is another Rosenwald school. And so they've raised funding to restore the building. Now they're trying to get a ramp for ADA compliant and bathrooms in there. So it's in Rome. It's close to Rome. Yeah, Cave Spring, yes. Chubbtown. She took me to Chubbtown. I love that as well.
How do you check on the submission status of something, and then to check to see if you're not resubmitting something that's already been?
The staff will let you know. Yeah, we have a computer system that puts all that in, and they'll let you know that someone's already reapplied. Like someone down in Newton County was trying to apply for, I think, a cemetery, an African American cemetery, and they applied back in 2008. And so I think they had to restart over again because it was so long. They were in 2008. We were asking for more information, and they never provided it, and it just sat there. So she has to start all over again.
So they do have a certain statute of limitations.
Exactly. We have everything on file still. She came in and saw the file. So we might have something on file here in Cartersville that you might have submitted. You can come in and look what's there, make copies of it, and resubmit what that already has. Great questions, guys. Yes, ma'am. No, you're fine.
Does Georgia Public Broadcast have any grants for like, if you wanted to like, take a Rosenwald school back to its original, do you think they have like any grants or anything? Like
HPD has grants. We have heritage grants, and they are based on how many historic preservation license plates we sell a year. And so I think the last time we gave a grant out was in 2020. So I don't think we sold enough to post that out. So anyone that I need to buy one. I don't have one. Yes. Yes. So yeah. So again, 2020 was a long time since we gave that grant out because I don't think a lot of people are buying them. So. No. And then there's CLG, Certified Local Government, that you guys, Cartersville's a part of. We have grants for that as well. One ended in February 1st. So let's say you wanted to do an audio tour off your phone around downtown Cartersville. They can, when you submit that grant, you can apply for it and they will give you the funding for it. Last year, everyone that applied got the grant because a lot of people don't apply for it.
All the information you're giving is fantastic and great information. And I saw that you had sort of a guide on what to do. Where can we get that?
I have my card, and I can give it to you. Once you reach out to me, I can give you that information.
Okay.
And if I don't know it, someone from my division, I'll let contact them, and they can contact you about it. Especially a lot of National Register stuff. And there's tax incentives too for historic site. So you rebuild it, you have to go by the guidelines for keep the integrity. They can do a tax incentive for that as well.
Do you all have a local office?
Yeah, we're located we are in Atlanta. We're off of North Druid Hills. Executive Park. But my job is to travel. So I've been down to Camilla. I've been down, if you know where that is, it's way down South Georgia. I've been, yes, it's kind of sundown town, unfortunately. But I've been down there, of course. I was supposed to go to Ringo last week, so I'm going to go back up there. So I love to travel and see the history and educate people. And they're educating me because I don't know a lot of the story for Georgia history. All right, well, thank you guys. I appreciate it. And I do have some reflections. If you want to take the last copy in December, I have some right here and my business card.
Well, let's give Mary a hand.
Thank you guys.
Thank you, Mary, for sharing with us the good work that y'all are doing with the commission. And